Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another session of this course on Islamic inheritance law, in which we shall be looking at the inheritance amongst the distant kindred class, one heirs according to the Ḥanafī Fiqh. Let's start off with text from the Sirajiyah. أولاهم بالميراث أقربهم إلى الميت كبنت. البنت فإنها أولى من بنت الابن، وإن استووا في الدرجة فولد الوارث أولى من ولد ذوي الأرحام، كبنت الابن فإنها أولى من ابن بنت البنت، وإن استوت درجاتهم ولم يكن فيهم ولد الوارث أو كان كلهم يدلون بوارث، فعند أبي يوسف رحمه الله تعالى والحسن بن زياد يعتبر أبدان الفروع ويقسم المال عليهم سواء اتفقت صفة الأصول في الذكورة والأنوثة أو اختلفت. ومحمد رحمه الله تعالى يعتبر أبدان الفروع إن اتفقت صفة الأصول موافقا لهما، ويعتبر الأصول إن اختلفت صفاتهم، ويعطي الفروع ميراث الأصول مخالفا لهما. كما إذا ترك ابن بنت وبنت بنت عندهما يكون المال بينهما للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين باعتبار الأبدان، وعند محمد رحمه الله كذلك، لأن صفة الأصول متفقة. ولو ترك بنت ابن بنت وابن بنت بنت عندهما المال بين الفروع أثلاثا باعتبار الأبدان، ثلثاه للذكر وثلثه للأنثى. وعند محمد رحمه الله المال بين الأصول أعني في البطن الثاني أثلاثا، ثلثاه لبنت ابن البنت نصيب أبيها، وثلثه لابن بنت البنت نصيب أمه. وكذلك عند محمد رحمه الله تعالى إذا كان في أولاد البنات بطون مختلفة يقسم المال على أول بطن اختلف في الأصول، ثم يجعل الذكور طائفة والإناث طائفة بعد القسمة، فما أصاب الذكور يجمع ويقسم على أعلى الخلاف الذي وقع في أولادهم، وكذلك ما أصاب الإناث، وهكذا يعمل إلى أن ينتهي بهذه الصورة. The class 1 distant kindred are descendants of the deceased. They are the grandchildren and their descendants who are neither sharers nor residuaries. The family tree diagram shows the class 1 heirs, the males in blue and the females in red. These include all the sons and daughters, through the daughter and more remote descendants, as well as all children and more remote descendants through a granddaughter or great-granddaughter. The order of succession is shown in this slide. Pause the video to examine the order of succession. The first right to the inheritance is amongst the children of the daughter, followed by the children of the son's daughter, and so on. Remember the notation we use to identify the heirs. SDS refers to the son of the daughter of the son. SSDS means the son of the son of the daughter of the son. Let us look at some examples to illustrate the inheritance amongst distant kindred, class 1. In this example, a person dies leaving behind a SD, DD, DDS, SDD, and DDD as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. If we apply the rules of priority, all the claimants are descendants and all belong to class 1. The rule is that nearer in degree exclude the more remote, so SD and DD exclude all the more remote heirs. The male inherits the share of two females. SD inherits 2/3 and DD inherits 1/3. In this example, a person dies, leaving behind SDS, DDS, and DSD as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. If we apply the rules of priority, we note that all the claimants are descendants and all belong to class 1 and all are of equal degree. The rule is that a claimant connected to the deceased through a sharer or residuary excludes other claimants of equal degree. So SDS and DDS both exclude DSD. Applying the general rule that the male inherits the share of two females, SDS inherits 2/3 and DDS inherits 1/3. In this example, a person dies leaving behind a SD and 4 DDs through different daughters as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. If we now apply the rules of priority, we can see that all the claimants are descendants and all belong to class 1 and all are of equal degree. Applying the general rule that the male inherits the share of two females, SD is assigned 2 portions. All the other claimants are female and are thus assigned 1 portion. The total number of portions is 6. SD inherits 1/3 and the other claimants inherit 1/6. In this example, a person dies leaving behind a DSD and a SDD through different daughters as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. If we now apply the rules of priority, we note that all the claimants are descendants and all belong to class 1 and all are of equal degree. These claimants are great-grandchildren. The general rule that the male gets the portion of 2 females still applies. According to Imam Muhammad, the shares are assigned according to the gender of their ancestors at the point where they differ. SD being a male is assigned 2 portions, and DD being a female is assigned 1 portion. These assigned shares then descend to their claimants, that is, to the surviving heirs respectively. So according to Imam Muhammad's system based on per stirpes, DSD gets 2/3 and SDD gets 1/3. According to Imam Abu Yusuf, we pay no attention to the ancestors, i.e. the roots of the claimants. Hence, SDD gets 2/3 and DSD gets 1/3. We can see that the share distribution differs according to Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf at the great-grandchildren level and further down. In this example, a person dies leaving behind a SDD, a SSD, and a DSD through 3 different daughters as the only claimants. Look at the family tree diagram to see the exact blood relationship. This is a slightly difficult case. Let's apply Imam Muhammad's method to calculate the shares. We note that the ancestors differ at the second level of descent. Therefore, the shares are assigned at this point depending on the number of claimants. We also note that each line of succession has only 1 claimant and that the total number of claimants is 3. The gender of the claimants at this point is not important. The shares are assigned according to the gender of the ancestors at this point. The general rule that male gets the portion of 2 females applies. Therefore, DD being female is assigned 1/5. SD2 and SD3, both being males, are assigned 2/5 each. The shares assigned to the male roots are collected together and distributed to their descendants. So, 2/5 plus 2/5 equals 4/5 is distributed to SSD and DSD, with the male getting twice the share of the female. Therefore, SSD gets 2/3 of 4/5 equals 8/15. DSD gets 1/3 of 4/5 equals 4/15. The shares assigned to the female root, that is 1/5, and is distributed to their descendants. So SDD gets 1/5. The final distribution of shares, according to Imam Muhammad's method, is that SDD gets 1/5, SSD gets 8/15, DSD gets 4/15. Imam Abu Yusuf's method is much simpler. According to him, we simply examine the gender and number of claimants. SDD and SSD being male inherit 2/5 each, and DSD being female inherits 1/5. In this example, a person dies, leaving behind 4 great-great-grandchildren, a SDD, a DDD, a SSD, and a DSD, as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. This is another difficult case. We can see that the ancestors differ at the second level of descent. Therefore, the shares are assigned at this point, depending on the number of claimants. The shares are assigned according to the gender of the ancestors at this point, the male getting the portion of 2 females. We can see that each line of succession has only 1 claimant, and that the total number of claimants is 4. Therefore, the 2 DDs are assigned 1/6 each, and the 2 SDs are assigned 2/6 each. These assigned shares descend to their claimants respectively. The shares assigned to the male roots are collected together, so 2/6 plus 2/6 equals 4/6, and this is distributed to their descendants, SSD and DSD. The male gets twice the share of the female, therefore SSD gets 2/3 of 2/3, which is 4/9, and DSD gets 1/3 of 2/3, which is 2/9. The shares assigned to the female roots are collected together. 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 2/6, which is 1/3, and distributed to their descendants, that is, SDD and DDD. The male gets twice the share of the female, so SDD gets 2/3 of 1/3, which is 2/9, and DDD gets 1/3 of 1/3, which is 1/9. So the final distribution of shares, according to Imam Muhammad's method, is that SDD gets 2/9, DDD gets 1/9, SSD gets 4/9, and DSD gets 2/9. Note that the 2 great-grandsons, SDD and SSD, although they are of the same degree with respect to the deceased, do not inherit equally because their roots are of different gender. The same applies to the 2 great-granddaughters, DDD and DSD. According to Imam Abu Yusuf, SDD and SSD inherit 1/3 each, while DDD and DSD inherit 1/6 each. In this example, a person dies leaving behind 5 great-great-grandchildren, 2 DDSDs, 2 SDDDs, and the DSDD as the only claimants. The family tree diagram shows the exact blood relationship. We see that the ancestors differ at the second level of descent. Therefore, the shares are assigned at this point depending on the number of claimants. The total number of claimants is 5. As we said previously, the shares are assigned according to the gender of the ancestors, with the male getting the portion of 2 females. In this example, we have 3 ancestors at level 2, 1 male and 2 females, and there are 5 claimants. SD is male with 2 claimants. DD is female with 2 claimants. DD is female with 1 claimant. So SD is assigned 4/7. DD is assigned 2/7, and DD is assigned 1/7. We can see that the male root has been assigned 4/7, and the female roots 3/7. We continue to examine and descend along the roots of the claimants. A further difference of gender appears amongst the ancestors at the next level in the family tree, level 3. The difference occurs only in the combined female root. The shares allotted to the male root, which is 4/7, is distributed amongst its descendants. The two DDSDs together get 4/7 each, inheriting 2/7. Since the difference occurs only in the female root at level 3, the shares allocated to the female root, which is a total of 3/7, are reassigned at this level. DDD is a female with 2 claimants. SDD is a male with 1 claimant. The total amount to be divided is 3/7. The male gets the portion of 2 females. So SDD is a male with 1 claimant, so he is assigned 2 portions. DDD is a female with 2 claimants, so she is assigned 2 portions as well. DDD gets 1/2 of 3/7, which is 3/14, and SDD also gets 1/2 of 3/7, which is 3/14. The share assigned to DDD is distributed amongst her descendants, and the share assigned to SDD is distributed amongst his descendants. So the two SDDDs together get 3/14, each one inheriting 3/28, and DSSS inherits 3/14. The final distribution of shares according to Imam Muhammad's method is that the two DDSDs get 8/28 each. The two SDDDs get 3/28 each, and the DSSD gets 6/28. According to Imam Abu Yusuf's, the two SDDDs inherit 2/7 each. The two DDSDs inherit 1/7 each, and the DSD inherits 1/7. This brings us to the end of this session. Insha'Allah, see you in the next one.